Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Howard. It's going to be a volatile day here. I heard, trillions of dollars coming off in options. There's a discrepancy of how much, but looks like a little over $2 trillion in options coming off today on everything, whether that's crypto, stocks, futures options. There's a lot
ETF,
going on today,
everything,
and
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be that. You get a lot of economic data too. I do have going across the bottom for you guys a few of the options that are expiring that came up as the largest expiries. There are some crazy ones here. So I do think it's going to be volatile. We got to talk UNH, right, Steve? I mean, lawsuits, DOJ. What are you hearing?
Yeah, look, the beginning of all of this was when the death of the CEO, unfortunate situation right there, but it called into question all of the things that were going on at these insurance agencies. And look, Medicare and Medicaid affects a huge, significant part of the population. We know that Trump's even talked about Medicare and Medicaid, where he won't even touch it with these cuts with Doge. This is a significant voting area too, as well. They vote in mass because they have nothing else to do at night or during the day, right? And they are not they're not going to take it. They're going to make sure that they get their insurance. They worked for it, and UNH, United Health, has been on the forefront of cutting that, and we've seen this happen, right? Deny, deny, deny. That was on the bullets, right?
That's what I've seen all over the news today has been, the fact that, the amount of denials. And I've talked to you about it. It's terrible. It's terrible in the US. How many people declare bankruptcy due to medical bills and misbilling and all this other stuff? I've had to deal with it. It's crazy. But it's got them down 8.6%. And I personally am not a buyer. I don't know about you. At this level, I think they've got more problems in front of them, and I think investor sentiment is against them.
Yeah, totally right. And I said this the other day. I'm not touching them until I feel like the problems are cleared up. They need a judge to tell me that. They need, they've got other accounting issues. Looks like now. I don't even know. It's too much for me right now. So I can't touch this.
On the other side of that, I have to talk about, of course, Coinbase. Coinbase, it has been announced that they are, as I pull it on and off there it is. The SEC is dropping the lawsuit. And the biggest part for me, the takeaway there, Brian Armstrong was on CNBC. They are not admitting any wrongdoing, and there is no fine whatsoever. This is a full dismissal. Were you surprised by that?
Not one bit. This administration is cleaning house, especially at the SEC. Look, there's a lot of great SEC enforcement officers there, and it's kind of, I don't really have a comment because I don't really know the new SEC attorneys yet. We'll see. I probably do know them. I just need to know who they are, right? They're not in yet. I will say this much, that there's a couple of things going on here. We know that Gensler was very negative on crypto. Now, he was very positive as a professor. He was very positive on Bitcoin as a professor. And he was positive on even altcoins, on some altcoins. He even spoke very highly of them. The minute he gets into the Biden administration, he goes very negative. He starts saying things that, you go, that doesn't make any sense. Where is it coming from, right? And it's coming from the administration. It came from Lena Khan's office. All these things that stifle
Elizabeth Warren, his buddy.
Right. Elizabeth Warren, who now says that we should help the debank.
Yeah, debanking is bad. Stable. I want to be involved in stable coin regulation.
Give me a break.
Yeah. And I think what I would point out is, forget the people, forget anything there. Regulation to enforcement doesn't work anywhere at any time in any place. And that's what they did. Instead of setting guidelines as predecessors were trying to do, like Jay Clayton and he at the CFTC, which did work pretty proactively throughout the last administration and almost at war with the SEC, right? Burnham and him fought all the time. There were no rules to the road, and it was just enforcement through, regulation.
How does a company like Coinbase and Brian Armstrong follow the rules when the rules aren't even?
There is no rules.
They keep saying how we test,
$50 million defending themselves.
Right. And they should get paid back for that, by the way. The
Yeah,
government owes them
yeah.
that.
So that's what I said. I said they should be some kind of fund. There isn't, but there should be there. So we do want to hit on that because those are the two biggest stories across the board today. Is been based upon lawsuits. Again, this is what we've been talking, right? It has been tweet analysis as much as it is technical analysis right now. We got a lot of economic data
We're
today.
now hearing reports that CrowdStrike, real quickly, CrowdStrike now is getting an investigative committee from the DOJ, SEC now also investigating too. CrowdStrike.
Is that a Wells notice?
It could be, yeah. So, wow.
And the reason I'm asking that for those that don't know, a Wells notice basically says we are about to file a lawsuit against you, and we're just giving you a little forewarning. And if you come in on your hands and knees, we could maybe talk about it before it hits the
Looks
suit.
like it's based on the CrowdStrike Caresoft deal. They're coming up, according to Bloomberg. So could be interesting here.
Today, economic data, we got PMI at 9:45. At 10 a.m., we have existing home sales, consumer sentiment report, and the Q4 services survey. And at 1 o'clock, we've got one of your favorites, I know, the Baker Hughes oil and gas rig count. And then we do have some Fed speak also. What are you looking at?
Be down, actually. I think you're right. I think the rig count's going to be down. We are pumping oil now at a very high rate. There are deals going on, but why do you want to pump more oil out when the 71.08 right now barrel? Is that right? Yeah. Gosh, 71.61 now a barrel. Wow. No, I don't think so. I'll tell you, the big number that came out this morning for me was the PMI services numbers. The flash number there for global manufacturing was 51.5. Now, we have seen the hiring in the construction business at the lowest level since, gosh, you have to go back to 2000 something. I don't even know at this point. Hiring in the construction spending has been low, but manufacturing has come up a little bit. So Trump is right. If that's the case, then maybe this shift to manufacturing is happening. But the bigger number was in global services PMI, meaning the hospitality industry at 53. So anything over 50 we know is expansion. And the prior reading there was 52.8. So it's starting to push up in both manufacturing and in services, meaning people are getting jobs, meaning people are actually going back out there. So the economy seems to be doing a wee bit better here.
Yeah, it's good to hear that part. Steve, you've been talking about a lot natural gas. Moving tremendously. I see you with a sweater on here this morning. And that, for those that don't know, Steve is in Florida. So he was whining about his cold. As I mentioned, we're near zero here in Ohio with snow. So I did not feel bad for him. But nat gas moving up again here, 435. Are you still short at 450 if it gets up there?
Yeah, of course. I still think the problem is still the problem, right? You saw it right there. Storage is down at 196 billion cubic feet. This is below the 5-year average. Why? Because the draw is very heavy right now, meaning
demand is way up right now. Right. I pointed out because it's been a very set and watch trade. We've seen it back here. You said it in the end of December when it hit that 450 to short it. As I pointed out, it went right down in 2 days to 356. After it made that run again, you shorted it again down to that 380 level. When it hit again a few days later, you shorted it. That time it came all the way down to the 340 level. We did it again, just the other day. We talked about it when it broke. It came back down to the, 407 level. And now again, it's rising. So it has been a pretty good trade here that we've talked about on Quasar Markets in the morning. So, we're getting towards that area again. As we look to start off here, the tick is positive slightly here at 86. Advanced decline above 1,500, 1,757. So it looks like we will open to the green, even if everything that's not open yet opens red. It would be right about even. So that's a good look here. QQQ technology seems to be leading the way this morning. Steve, do you think we see a day with all these options expire and we see some short covering? What do you think we see here?
Yeah, shorts have been trying to push the markets down for a while now, and they just can't seem to do it. I think they're going to give up today. Will there be some rollover? Yes. So keep your eye on the 2 o'clock time frame, 2 o'clock Eastern time. That's when some of the firms like Robinhood start peeling off the retail. Some companies wait till 2:30, 3 o'clock. But 2 o'clock is when you'll start to see some of that peeling off. It's usually the retailers. And they're the most nervous right now. They should be. I'll tell you, I wouldn't be short crypto right now. Not all the things going on.
Speaking of that, Bitcoin at 99,208 here. So looking to break to the upside. It did break that key level I spoke about yesterday. Did not cause a real liquidation event. So we still have a lot of open interest built up. As you mentioned, there's a lot of expiries when it comes to the CME markets.
Yeah.
I do have to point out, all of the crypto related expiries that aren't perpetuals happen at UTC time. So they already happened. So the only thing left is CME when it comes to that. They do have the second largest amount after Binance. So it is still a big deal. We could see some movement here. My key is to hold above 98,750. Any hold above that 98,750 keeps us in a bullish setup here. So it would turn that resistance we've seen all, the last 14 days into support. So that's what we're watching here. We'll keep an eye on that. Gold, Steve, continues to hold. Hasn't been able to break out to that, 3,000 mark, but it is real close there, sitting, right now at 29.33, got up to 29.50. Didn't quite hit an intraday high, but it still seems to be holding up, consolidating at this level. To me, that's what I'm seeing, just a consolidation here at this level right now. Would you be a buyer or seller of gold here going into the weekend?
I'd be a holder. I mean, I wouldn't be a buyer or a seller. I think that's kind of, we made those moves already. And I think that's part of what we're saying in this market. It's a stock pickers market. But with gold and precious metals, silver, especially for me, I will say that it's a hold position right now. I'm not adding, I'm not taking any away. I'm just leaving it alone. And I'm trying to be an investor in this too, as well.
Yeah, for me, I think that 3,000, it's been, widely rumored will hit it, but then look for a retracement from there, as a lot of people like to sell at those round numbers. We talked with Mark Petrino yesterday, from the Charted Market Technicians, and Benzinga, great information. He is back today at 12:30 actually with us. But Mark brought up how, some of these things are set at a rounding area towards the top of resistance. You're most likely going to see that retracement, that mean reversion, before you get the breakout. So to watch for that sort of setup here on that. Silver was above 33, Steve, fell just below it, but still, rocking and rolling again. All of the commodities seem to be, catching some wind here. Part of that, we talk about DXY, and we do have Mr. Flanagan in here at 10 o'clock, 106.62. So, it's still giving some breathing room there, right, to the markets?
Yeah, I'm a little not too concerned right now. The dollars is, I keep hearing that travel to Europe. This is your time to travel to Europe because the dollar is so high. Your travel better be made soon, because I think the dollar is about to come back down.
Yeah, it seems to be moving that way. We'll see what Steve says later on. We'll point out all three of the foreign indices I sort of watch here, the stocks, the Shanghai and the Nikkei, all up nicely. Shanghai leading up 85 basis points, the stocks up 55, and the Nikkei up 68 basis points. So we are seeing a little bit of breathing room again as King Dollar takes a little bit of a break. These markets, foreign markets, are moving up. With that being said, one of the movers I'm continuing to watch here, is Alibaba, Steve. It broke through, up 8% yesterday, up another 4.9% here today at 142. Part of that fueled by the big move by Mealy overnight too. Mealy up really nicely after their earnings. Mercado Libre, for those that don't know, sort of the Amazon of South America, up about 12.63% here. That's always been one of your favorites, Steve. Another one, though, that right now you can see, if you look at the daily chart, I wouldn't be getting into some FOMO here. You are right at that resistance range here.
Yeah, Mercado Libre, Melly, is not a, it's been a good runner since probably the going all the way back to COVID, because people were buying. I said two things back then, that when Mercado Libre, it's a little different than Amazon. Amazon is Amazon, no matter where you are. It's Amazon US, but
Right.
Mercado Libre is Mercado Libre Peru, Mercado Libre Brazil. So they do change it per country. And I said this, a few years back, that when they got into what Amazon has done with AWS, with other things than just selling product, they would do very, very well. And they have done that. They've made that move, and it's working quite well for them. So I do like Mercado Libre. I just think that they might be toppy a little bit here.
Yep,
Break
I'm
out.
with you there. From a strictly technical standpoint, you can see that this 2150 area is historical resistance. That I'd be watching here for sure.
But here
Absolutely.
reports that Hims and Hers has now acquired a U.S.-based peptide facility. Wow, that's interesting. Peptide being how they build drugs. Wow, that's interesting.
A lot of controversy on Hims, isn't there? I saw a lot of analysts saying that, this is one of those ones, do not believe the hype because they don't
I
have
don't
any
believe the hype
patents.
either.
Yeah, they don't have any patents. They're sort of at the whims. I don't want to use a bad word, but they sort of feed upon the woes of others, right? When companies
I'll say this much right now. Here's what, they made their big money on the semaglutide, which is the weight loss drugs. Eli Lilly is coming out with it, and they're stockpiling a lot of it and waiting for the FDA approval, which they'll probably get because this administration is good to approve these kind of things now, is the pill for the weight loss drug. That will be off the charts. Eli Lilly will be a big winner, and Hims and Hers won't be able to replicate that, right?
Right.
So that's why I think they've got this peptide facility, but I don't think it's going to help them, to be honest with you. And I think it is a lot of hype here with Hims and Hers.
Yep, I'm with you. So that is an interesting one. Got to stay sort of out of the U.S. where we were before Hims and Hers.
Okay.
New. Warren Buffett, a guy who has not had a great portfolio of recent, hit a home run with this one. You and I have been talking about it in new, but got slammed today, down 8.25% after their earnings came out here. Good earnings, bad forward guidance, what we keep talking about, right? That seems to be the way that, the day and the way that everything's going. They're up 22% year over year in customers, up 58% in revenue, almost 2x the net income from last year. Credit portfolio up 28% year over year. That sounds pretty good to me, but market doesn't seem to like it. And this is another one where I was trying to say, man, am I a buyer at the level right here? And it's an interesting one. I sort of am. I like what I saw, beginning of December. It consolidated in this level. I'd like it a little better at that 1190 area in the 50-day MA. That's what I'm sort of looking at for a setup here. So I'm keeping an eye here. But any further fall towards that $12 range, I do think new holdings becomes interesting. What are you thinking of from a fundamental side there, Steve?
Digital banking is a tough business right now. Anybody can make a digital bank. I mean, we can make a digital bank, right? It's whether or not you can acquire customers, it's whether or not you can, go into other foreign countries. Can you do that? And I think the answer is yes. I do like that. They've had a strong.
They pointed to Mexico and Colombia expansion coming up as big drivers for next year. That's one of the reasons I'm interested. From a fundamental, I was looking at it just strictly from technical, like I said. Yeah. And you can see that back here, this zone between 1169 and 1224 has been a nice little form of consolidation. So if we can come into the zone, I start to like it. Again, you can see it's historically been an area going all the way back to March of last year, right? Where it's had a historical spot. You're not going to find anything to the left of that because that's where it took off back in 2024 in general. But, it's price history in here, and the psychology of traders tells me in this area, it tends to be a good pickup. So one I'm looking at here today, NU. Steve, an interesting one that's blowing up that I'm not interested in chasing. MLGO. Did you see they're up
I
177
want absolutely nothing to do with this stock.
this morning, trading at 319 now. It closed last night at 115. No new news here. This is one of those ones where we say beware of the hype, right? Because it's sort of getting all the hype based upon Microsoft's announcement yesterday about the new chip and them saying that, Microsoft saying that AI is closer and quantum computing is closer than other people think. So it's moving up on that in sentiment. So I definitely warn of that. When you see it up in sentiment, you don't want to really be looking at that there. Another one moving up here today, Steve, that I had to do a little bit more research on is CELH, which is Celsius, which I did know is a energy drink company that had some things, but their big movement seems to be based upon an acquisition of Alani Nu, which I was not that familiar with, but then I mentioned it in front of my wife, and she pointed out how she has some in the fridge downstairs and loves it, sort of this organic energy drink, supposed to be better than like a Red Bull and all that, more natural, and a huge, social presence, social marketing presence. So it looks to be moving it up 32% here. And this one I got to point out, because if you look at the hourly chart here, this has done a nice job of holding up. It really hasn't given you that mean retracement you see. So this is more of a setup for maybe a continuation and, to the upside here. So, any kind of breakout above this 36 level is interesting to Celsius on me.
Yeah, I mean, they bought it with $1.8 billion mix of cash and stock here. Yeah, I mean, is an energy drink worth that much? I don't think so. We can see. I don't know. I don't think so. I just don't see that.
Okay. Sticking to the world, Palantir is bouncing back a little bit here, 1.4%. Again, the big news there was, dilution of stock, right? Stock sales, everything there. You got any sort of feel here? You think it fills that gap back to the upside here? It looks like it wants to.
Palantir, look, yesterday we talked about it. I thought it might close that gap. It came close, did not quite do it. I'm not touching Palantir right now. Let's let it shake out a bit.
Absolutely. Another couple of losers here. Rivian, I know you're not surprised by that. You've never been a big fan of Rivian, down about 7.5% here this morning. After their poor earnings, they did have Tesla and Lucid also moving in the negative direction based on that news. Is at its 200-day MA, but for me, I'm still not a buyer of Rivian. Do you see them at all down by you?
A few, it's a novelty. I do see more Cybertrucks than anything, and they're not well liked down here. It's just, this is Florida, right? Where General Motors and GMC trucks and Ram trucks and Ford trucks are popular, and Jeeps, right? So no, I don't see Cybertruck being the issue. Real quickly, Reuters now reporting that Russia could agree, and I'm going to post this here at the bottom, the ticker here, that Russia could agree to using $300 billion of, according to them, sovereign assets frozen in Europe for reconstruction in Ukraine. That is interesting. They may be getting closer and closer to a deal here, where Russia and Ukraine come to some kind of agreement. I know that the United States is making a move into Ukraine now for the mineral rights. They're now there. The envoy is now there. So yeah, we're seeing Bitcoin now below 99,000 there. That sell-off right there, interesting sell-off there. 99, it went to 99,000, almost 800, and then dropped down here to 98,900 here.
Yeah, safe havens seem to be getting hit. Gold pulled down on that news too, down to 29.34. So we are seeing a little bit of a sell-off maybe on the commodities here on that news. Obviously, it would be good news. Markets first moves were to the upside, QQQ at least, up 35 basis points, and we see the tick moving more positive above about 121 now, 123. Advanced decline continuing to move up also this morning, 1850. As we look at sectors, mixed bag in general. You see energy is down. We're pretty flat on banking. X,
I will say this much. If you want to talk about something that was very interesting today, was the deal, and we talk about it because tomorrow's the really kind of the beginning of spring training. We know there was one game at Cubs and Dodgers yesterday, but it's baseball, and that's Major League Baseball is ending their deal with ESPN. That might help Disney, actually, believe it or not, because ESPN has been an albatross around their neck for a while, and that could be a good pump for Disney, actually.
Yeah, that could, yeah. But is it? My question is it really going to happen, or is this one of those negotiating ploys? Because it seems like with all of these cable companies and the fights they always have, they always seem to at the 11th hour come to
Cut
some
out a
sort
deal, right? Exactly.
of agreement. Because who else, Turner's not going to go back into baseball that big. Who's going to? Who else is? Well, maybe yeah.
Well,
What'd be interesting to see
I think
is
what's happening now is really cool. Is that MLB is saying I'm going to take over with streaming because people want to watch streaming more than anything now, right? They're on their phones, on their iPads, whatever, their laptops, and you can also stream right now into your own house with MLB.TV app on your TV, right? I think that the MLB.TV really kick it in here a little bit. Right, I don't want to watch every team. I want to watch my teams. Right, that's what people are saying. Right? They don't want to watch the
yeah, I
Angels.
can't argue with that. It's good for the teams. Tough to play that from our side though.
Correct.
But yeah, definitely would be good for the teams. There is that ETF that does give you some exposure. You have MGM, not MGM, but Madison Square Garden that you can get exposure to that gives you the New York Knicks and some of their teams. But it's one that does the private equity companies that have now minor shareholders of the different companies. So you can get a little bit of an exposure to that. So we are about 4 minutes from the open here. Tick is staying positive so far. We can see advanced decline moving up nicely now, almost 1,900. So we are seeing us move up here as we get into the bottom. Bitcoin did find a floor here at 99 so far. So we'll see if that can hold up. As we look at today's pumpers so far, are things moving again in the world of upsy downsy for no reason? We Ride is up about 7% this morning after bottoming out. Looked like it was going to start to close that gap. Did find support right at the level that it gapped up to back on Friday. Again, this was where NVIDIA put an investment into this company, had it jump up. So again, not one that I'm playing at these elevated levels by any means, but we've seen that move. Another flyer that seems to be coming down to earth a little bit. Tempest AI is continuing to fall here in the pre-market, down another 2.24%, fell 10.49% yesterday. So again, these things seem to be moving, topsy-turvy. China continuing to show strength again on the news that Rivian wasn't getting any play in Europe or in China. Li Auto has a nice move today, up about 5% to the upside here too. And I mentioned how Alibaba is continuing to move to the upside now, over 12% between yesterday and today. If we look at the Mag 7 fairly quickly, most of them look like they want to open to the upside slightly. NVIDIA is back right around the 140 level. Steve, are we going to break this 140 level?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm an investor in NVIDIA. I think we go higher. I think we move higher. I think we do all kinds of things here. I'm not too worried about it right now. So just let it do its thing.
Yep, I don't argue. I just was more giving you a hard time like you do with Bitcoin on me. When it sits in one space for more than 30 minutes, you ask me why it hasn't mooned. So I thought I'd get on you.
I think with NVIDIA, I think a lot of people are concerned about the DeepSeek and all the different look, when you're talking about those kind of things, it's still AI, there's still a software side. NVIDIA is still the video hardware side. Yes, I know that they have a software side. I know they have a subscription service. Get it? I'm actually a user of it. But I will say to you out there, NVIDIA is going to go higher, probably back to 180. And I would say even go into 200. It's just going to need a little bit of another shakeout here, but I'm holding it. I'm not too worried about it. I'm a long-term holder of NVIDIA.
Absolutely.
Now, if you
Like
want
I
to talk
said,
about the Mag 7, I think Google is the one to worry, is the one that's got the best. If you want to go long-term investment, it's Google. They have the lowest PE of all the Mag 7s, 22, I believe, lately.
We are
All right,
about to open, so my
we're
trading
opening up.
view will not give me that info for the next minute or so. Here it comes. Yeah,
Unity
Google.
Software, you also up again, another one today.
Yeah, Unity took off yesterday. You pointed that out. It has continued to move to the upside. And we are open. Let's see what we get here. Tick. First couple of moves here are pretty flat right now. Advanced decline jumped up to 27.22. So good to see that it is moving to the north side here on the open. Tick pretty flat. QQQ 538. SPY 610.07. So let's see what we get. Bitcoin did lose the 99 handle on the open here, 98,836.
Oh,
Gold
I just think
holding.
it's nervous Nellies in Bitcoin right now. I think they're a little silly right now. Let them sell out because right now, Michael Saylor is just looking to smile all the way to the bank today. So he's buying.
Yeah, he did raise money, so I will expect him. He likes to buy Friday into the weekends. We usually find out about it on Monday. And not surprising, though, there has been a lot of range traders like myself talking about between that 90 and 1,000, 100,000 area. So a lot of them taking profit here as we hit that real close to that 100,000 level. So not surprised by that at all. Tick has gone slightly negative, but holding up. Nat gas up about 4.37 here today, 2.39%. Seeing here the funds. 10 years nicely getting back below the 4.5 here, Steve, 4.48. So that will give some breathing room, right, to mortgages and such. 4.72 also on the 30-year. So rates are moving down a little bit.
Dixie's falling, oil's falling, 30 years falling, 10 years falling here. Look, we also need to be careful because today is, and we talked about this morning, heavy options all day long. Are they going to roll them over? Oh, there's a drop down the Bitcoin. There it is, 98.7. There's another bigger drop there. Not liking that one. There's where you're 98.7.
Continuing to move up here, 143. So Alibaba trying to get to all-time highs. We're 144.51 right now at about 140. Well, just lost it a little bit, but was at as high as 143.50. So nice move up. Again, Li Auto moving up still today, up 6.18% now. SMCI rebounding a little bit here also. Yesterday it took a little bit of a hit, now up 3.64%. So trying to hit the highs of yesterday already here this morning. So we do see a bounce back there. As we said, Celsius continuing to move up, now up 31% here today. And MLGO up 155%. So still seeing some moves to the upside here by those. Some of the losers, let's see, NU down 12.22% right now. Starting to bounce back now, 11.84. So we are seeing a little bit of a bounce back by New here, but not really. Very volatile as we're watching. UNH down almost 10% here this morning.
I want to see UNH really, really take the dump, and then we can start to buy back. I'm really not there yet. UNH says they are not aware of a launch of new activity in the report. So they're saying they don't even know about this. If there is, UNH fighting back a little bit here. I don't know that they can fight back too much.
Trying to look back here to see. So sort of looking at like that 438 level where it bounced, you can see is exactly where it bounced in April when they.
Hearing reports that OpenAI has banned even more accounts as part of its efforts to police malicious uses of its powerful AI models.
Oh, wow. Well, that's good to hear. We'll say 5.9 moving up today, Steve, up 13.36%, was a pre-market mover, continuing to move up. The software company, again, we've seen these gaming companies move up really big here on earnings. They had a 12.53% beat on EPS. It was 79 cents. 4% on top line revenue.
Eli
So
Lilly now up almost $5 here now on that news, and Novo Nordisk. I mentioned that this morning. NBO now up 3.64%. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, right? Hims and hers is kind of a joke. They, you nailed it, right? They literally have primed off of taking advantage of companies. It's okay, I understand that, but we don't like that here. We like to make your own damn job, your own drugs. But I will say that I could see literally everybody on the planet taking obesity pills. It'd be like a vitamin.
Right. Yeah, you could. Absolutely. We know that, yeah, I can't argue with that at all. Bitcoin has regained 99 here, so it has picked up a little bit.
We're still seeing tick down 400. So, there's still, look, everybody's nervous. We're at highs. I get it. But the economy seems to be ticking in the right direction. Things seem to be going the right way. The selling seems to be a little silly to me.
Yeah, advanced decline back has dropped pretty significantly back down to 1641. So we are seeing a little bit of a move to the downside here. You can see that since 9:30, since the open, we opened at the high 2,700, stocks opening up in the green. Now we're at 1598, continuing to move down, as you said. Tick continuing to be negative here. VIX at 1553, sort of sitting in no man's land. That's sort of that weird spot. Needs to break below 15 for me to be interested in looking at longer dated calls there. Dow is down almost 60 basis points, so we are seeing that is where the major loser are so far. SPY down about 11 basis points, 609. It was trying to break above 611, and now we're trying to break, can't hold the 610 handle. So we are seeing a quick little sell-off here. Options are going to be fast and furious, as you mentioned here, over the next couple of hours. We're going to see a lot of volatility.
People are nervous. People are scared. I mean, if this is retail, 0 DTE's covering, and it is what it is. I would discount today. It's just that this nervousness that are intricately into these retail newbie traders who don't really know what they're doing, but they think they do, and they're quadrupling up and 100xing, and they're getting burnt. And in the past, Howard, it's roughly about 70% of retail lose money in the markets. Today, it's around 88%. Can you believe that?
Yeah, absolutely. A little over 87%.
And this is why, right? This is exactly why, because they're so nervous, and they're using gambling addicts in a lot of ways, tactics to trade. And this is what's causing problems, right? So, look, relax, take a chill pill. We're hearing reports now. Trump is eyes tariffs to counter digital taxes hated by big tech, says Trump will direct USTR to weigh digital tax remedies, people say.
Listen, yeah, never mind.
He just needs to stop with the tariffs, because it's really
it's just not the answer. But we are seeing a little bit of a bounce back by the financial sector today. So JP Morgan up almost a 0.5 percentage point. Bank of America up 20 basis points. Wells Fargo up 60. Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs all in the green so far. So we are seeing the U.S. banks moving up a little bit. They've been beaten up here most of the week. So
Trudeau, after yesterday's win in hockey, Trudeau this morning says, after Canada's hockey win over the United States, you can't take our country and you can't take our game.
Oh, good Lord.
It just gets better and better, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they won, and they won in the championship game. But if we, the ands, ifs, and whats start to come out. If we had Quinn Hughes, if we had Charlie McAvoy, it could have been different, would have been different, maybe, who knows. But you play the game that's in front of you, the same as the markets, right, Steve? And they did win in overtime.
So we were below the 98.
I will say, hey, that was better than any All-Star game that there's ever been.
That's not saying much. 98.5 now on Bitcoin there. So down below your 98.7, you said where the number was. So does that 98.7 now become
it's the line in the sand. I mean, that's the pivot point. So anything below that,
CELH has been halted here. CELH has been halted.
Whoa, that's a big stock to be halted there. That is not one of those penny pumpers. We've talked about it. CELH up 23.11%. That stopped to the downside. Stop to the downside. You warned of that, Steve.
I did, yeah.
That is now at the lows of the day. Like we said, when they go up that far, nature takes its course.
We're about 6 minutes now from the PMI numbers today. So here we go. What will we see?
That will be
Forecasters.
the first.
Yeah. Wow, this is selling in Bitcoin's a little rough here, I think.
Yeah, especially zero DTs there with IBIT and all that. IBIT is one of, if not the most traded options right now on a daily basis, right up there with SPY and QQQ. So that's going to move the needle back and forth today, because that's going to be that's where the fight's going to happen today.
I'm not scared.
Not at all. Solana back down at 176 again. We bought at that 165 level. Not worried there. Steve actually staked his, which almost gave me a heart attack, since when I used to talk to him about staking and he didn't understand it, he called me an idiot. But besides that, I'm not bitter about it at all, Steve.
How long ago was that? That was been years ago.
It was a long time ago, but I got to bring it up. Old wounds hurt the most, right, Steve? I'm just kidding. Robinhood up about 1.39% here on sympathy of coin, if I had to guess, and they also were under Wells' notice of suits with the SEC, so we'll see. I will point out, though, there was very different lawsuits there, because Robinhood had things that had to do with their regulated parts of their business, as opposed to Coinbase, which was what was called the unregulated parts of the business. So we'll see there. See, do you think that will speed up Coinbase's move into the regulated markets? We know they own a small futures market, futures broker. You think that speeds them moving into that area bigger and bigger?
Not really.
Okay. Because I think that's where they're going, like Robinhood. I think they all want to be part of that futures world.
But I don't think so yet. It's a big, it's a very expensive world to move into, right? Man, I like this bounce off this line here on Bitcoin here.
Let's take a look at that. Bitcoin 98,565 here. Yeah, I'd still be watching for downside 98, 175 area. If we see a slide, that's the key spot there to the downside to watch here. Up on my hourly chart to the right. I'll blow that up. That's sort of our key spot to keep an eye on here today on Bitcoin. You fall below that, your first stop's 96.8, but you're more likely looking for that 95.
I think the selling is just profit taking in a lot of ways. I think that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, like I said, there is a lot of traders, myself included, that have been playing this, zone here in the hourly chart that's been between 99 and 93, really the 94.5 area, 94.5. Going back here to February 3rd. So, you've had that. People like to play that. We've talked, again, Mark Petrino talked about playing that area. Bubba talked about playing that area, right? Todd Horowitz yesterday. They've all been sort of playing in that area. I think, if anything, Bitcoin's keeping traders very happy for those people that are day traders.
That's right. They are.
Investors aren't happy. That's why you're yelling at me. But those are them.
I'm a trader too. Look, I picked up Solana, right? I sold at 98 too. I know where the numbers are, right? But I don't like this nervousness in these traders, and they're getting burnt, and I feel bad for them, but they brought it on themselves. So.
Yeah, and as what I would point out again, though, is it still is the retail traders, as we saw from all of those earning reports from Robinhood, Coinbase, and all the others. Retail traders are what pushed it up to this level, and they're nervous traders. So let them sell to me at 94.
That's right.
Repeatedly. I'll
and
keep
when
taking
people
it
talk
and
about
to 99.
Right. And when you talk about, unfortunately, Michael Saylor taking all the money, well, it's the retailers giving it to him. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what.
yeah. Don't be foolish. You don't chase at the level it's at right now. Yeah, there's no
And they
reason.
love Michael Saylor because he's buying it, right? And they're like, well, we'll just sell into him. Michael ain't stupid, right? I
No,
mean,
he'll keep.
that's why
He'll keep taking
87%
it.
of retail traders lose money. We don't want that to happen. We want them to make money. That's the whole point of us being here. I want people to make money and to stop the nonsense, right? And that's what's happening right now. So yeah.
Yeah, don't fall into FOMO. Don't chase the runners. Look for a spot. If you do like something that's moved up, I'm not saying that you can't buy it, but don't chase it on the day it jumps 30% because
Correct.
inevitably there's going to be a move back to the mean reversion from that. It's just,
That's right.
as all of the guests and educators here on Quasar Markets keep pointing out that it doesn't matter whether it is, widgets, pens, anything you want to put on a chart, they all follow the same, psychology, right? Because that's what it is. It's price action psychology.
That's
it
right.
doesn't matter what that price is. That's what happens. Nvidia, like I said, it can't can't hold above 140 right now would be the perfect example of that. There's round numbers that certain things have been stuck at.
I'm not scared about that at all.
Yeah, but for Tesla, it's been 360 lately, right? Every time it gets up to 360, it gets rejected and falls back down.
I mean, there are a lot of Reddit groups and Discord nonsense. And look, I've been trading for 33 plus years, I guess. I've watched them lose money over and over and over and over and over, and that's what I've seen. And it's psychology is still number one. And when people ask me all the time, what's the number one thing out there right now, Steve? That it's literally psychology. You need to understand psychology. If you don't understand psychology, you're not good. You're not going to be a good trader. Just is the way it is.
Mealy, the only really big mover so far today, up 11.79%. Booking Holdings, which had great earnings there. I do have that here in my notes for us. There it is. They are up also here about 2.37% this morning. Seeing Supermicro up 2.6%. West Pharmaceuticals, that's been continuing to move up here after their earnings earlier in the week, up 2.53%. Quanta Services, that was up yesterday, up 2.11%. So we are seeing a little bit of movement. Not a ton, though, to the upside. Brown-Forman, one of my favorite companies, the parent company of Jack Daniels, up about 1.71% here. You spoke of Moderna earlier, up 1.59. Tyson's Food up 1.46 here. So
99,000 back on Bitcoin. I mean, it's like I'm a broken record here. I've said it. Like, that sell-off was silly, and take advantage of it, folks. And people did.
Steve, seen a couple others moving to the downside this morning after some bad earnings. Old Dominion Freight Line now down 7.15%. Yep. Humana down 4.09%. Accenture down 3.34%. So some of these, FedEx got hit a little bit today too, down 2.86%. Airbnb down 2.62%. That's an interesting one. That had been flying after their earnings.
Yeah, we've heard quite a few times now that since Trump has been elected president, the travel for business and travel for pleasure is down a bit. People are definitely not traveling as much. They're nervous. So,
Steve, I just want to bring up, and I don't want to harp on the same subject, but let's take a look at that daily chart there in Airbnb.
Hold on one second. We got numbers coming in now from manufacturing PMI 51.6, a beat on the forecast, 51.5, but services PMI coming in at 49.7, a big miss there. So that's probably why you're seeing a little bit of a pump here in crypto. As services, I expect
moving down on that news a little bit as you're talking. Tick has been moving down a little bit here.
Yeah, that's not a good number that's really, really not a good number. Hospitality numbers. And we just talked about it, right? People aren't traveling. There you go. Restaurants and everything else. So there you go.
Well, it's that disconnect between Main Street and Wall Street right now, right? We've seen that. We've been talking about it. Steve, I just wanted to point out Airbnb again. You mentioned when it went up, I asked if you were a buyer on that news. You said no. And look at that fade off here from 163 down to 151. And again, looks like it will continue to probably fill this gap. There isn't a whole level of support. It's at the key support right now. Anything below that 148 level gives you all the way down to 141 here. So Airbnb, another one. Be careful there if you're in that position. And again, in the news right now, you know, if you're not, you've got to be playing earnings going into earnings to get these jumps. Otherwise, you need to be probably playing the contrarian of them, I would say. Wouldn't you, Steve?
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, what else do we got going on here? Tick still moving more negative here, Steve. Advanced decline now down 1,094 tells you everything you need to know today, right?
10-year down 4.488. If people are not being able to pay their bills, they're not traveling, they're not buying a house. So you got to lower those rates. We know that, right? Fed's got to lower rates, and they better do it quickly. We're gonna have problems. I think that we're gonna be there pretty quickly. We need to stop.
Tick -5. Definitely no one is liking these numbers that just came across, Steve. We got some hope because at 10 o'clock we get a whole nother set of numbers. So, you know, and we've seen in the markets today what it means. And when I say that at 10 o'clock, existing home sales, which I can't imagine are going to be good. Consumer sentiment, again, I can't imagine it's going to be good. And then Q4 services survey, which I know you love. So we'll see what comes here at 10 o'clock. But right now, yeah, I don't think the economic data is going to send us in the right way.
No, I think those are bad numbers for that, and it's not a good thing. So you're absolutely right. Thank you, Trump. You got to stop the tariff talk. I mean, I don't know how else to tell people this. They've got to stop talking about tariffs. It's not
now negative 500 here, and you can see the tick has just moved down right since 9:30 pretty much. Took one little spike up, and that 9:45 news came. So it's, again, market wants to move up, Steve. But investors want to go long right now, it seems like.
But when you have the general vicinity of zero DTEs right now, and you have the negativity of Trump tariffs, the negativity of people don't want to travel, people are unhappy, we're at all-time highs. There's only one way the direction. Look, if I were to give anybody some good advice, and this is exactly what the market does, the market looks for the easiest path.
Right.
Okay. That's how the market works. It's looking for the easiest path. And the easiest path right now is to the downside. It's harder to go up when we're at all-time highs in the SPY. It's hard to go up when the Bitcoin's at 100,000. But we're still going to go higher. I mean, that's what I'm saying to people. We're still going higher, but people are so nervous. They don't know how to get out of that FOMO crap feeling about, oh, I can't wait to be in my next trade. It's about being an investor trader, right? That's what I've always been. There is, and I think you heard this yesterday. If you listened to us yesterday talking up to Bubba, you're either an investor or you're a trader. You can't be both. You can be both if you've got 33 years of trading and advice, and you understand you've got the money. So some people are just trading because they're trying to make that little extra money, and that's going to screw them up every single time because they're trying to just eke out another $1,000 because they want to pay off something.
Well, it's combined, like you said. I think I just want us to clarify a little bit there. Is you can have a long-term investing portfolio separate from your day trading portfolio.
That's what you should have. That's right.
And that is something we do suggest. What it is your investing portfolio. You don't look at it daily. You don't even touch it daily. That is maybe a quarterly decision.
I take my wins from my trading and put it into my investments.
Right.
Now I'm in a different situation because there's a long time.
Yeah, but I just wanted to clarify for people so that they understand that you can be a day trader and an investor, just keeping them separate from each other. But too many traders don't do that. They don't separate it. We see it in our Slack channel all the time, right? Where traders that are doing both are down. You know, it almost makes you constantly either happy or sad because
I don't want traders blowing all their money and then having to work a little bit and then building it up again and then blowing it all again.
Exactly. And that's what tends to happen because their long-term investments start to go up over time. They take that money and they make a foolish day trade on it and they give back all of the money. So separate your accounts. I do it through separate brokers. I have a broker that I
love
use
it because You think you're going to outsmart the markets. You're not. I promise you.
They
And
can
I'll
be
tell you
irrational a lot longer than we can be liquid.
That's
We
right.
know that.
I'm here to help people make money. That's why I sit in this chair every day. That's why we built Quasar Markets, because we have all these other companies that are, oh my God, I can't believe you got to do this, you got to do that. Let me give you a stock to win on today. That's not going to make you money. It's going to make you miserable. Right? I want people to make money so that they can buy a new Maserati, not a new Yugo. Right? I want them to have these kind of things. And in order to do that, you have to have discipline and patience and understanding. Look, it's okay to paper trade somewhat, but it ain't okay to paper trade to learn how to trade, because there's nothing like being in the market. You have to be in the market. It's great education, right? But if you're just trading because of your charts, your precious charts, and trust me, I've been trading charts longer than you even knew about charts. I did it when I was doing graph paper and pen. We didn't even have charts back then. I will tell you the same thing. It's not, because news affects it. I will tell you that psychology affects it. You need to understand all of it. You need to understand options. Options affect it. And no, your naked puts and calls don't just affect the markets, right? It's not just, you have to understand the whole world. The whole world matters. You got to shrink that world just a wee bit. It's one of my rules of trading, right? And so when things happen in Japan, you better understand why that market's trading that way, right? Because it's not just the United States. We in the United States, we get this feeling that it's like we're all by ourselves and we're the only ones trading the market. No, dude. The JP Morgans in Japan are buying and selling our markets too. So you better understand how that works and how they're also buying and hedging against themselves in JP Morgan in the United States. So this is not just about getting in and getting out and understanding and trading and trading and trading. That's going to make you miserable as a person. You want to be happy? Invest. Buy things because it's quality, buy things because you see something that nobody else sees, and understand how to trade that. Okay, you see the price, you see eggs, right? It's a good example of this. Eggs, you saw it coming with issues with bird flu. Guess what? Egg prices went up. Guess what? You could have invested in that, right? How? You could have shorted Tyson's Foods. I mean, there's a lot of things we could have done, right, that aren't even being talked about. And that's what I mean by all of this, right? So I'll get off my high horse here, but I will say this much, right, that we are here at Quasar Markets are going to help you understand the markets and learn and trade and become better. Because I want people to understand why I think the way that I think and why Howard thinks the way that he thinks, and try to make this person, whoever you are out there, a better trader so that you will make money and not be part of the 87% and be a part of the, I mean, eventually I hope for the 50% that makes money, right? And that's what I want. But it's, unless you continually trade like a nonsense we just saw, you're not going to be that good trader.
I do have to point out micro algo continuing to move up here, 339, up 194% here. So wow.
Here it is. Hooters is now in talks to prepare for bankruptcy in the coming months.
That's a shame. Great wings. They actually do have great wings. Celsius has bounced back off the halt, Steve, there. So nice little move up back to 32.42 here. So we seem to find one the traders are enjoying today. Average volume is about 9.25 million. They've already almost doubled that on the day here today. We do have to mention there is a huge amount of options expiring. Again, we have some of the major ones going across the bottom of the screen right now. If you're in those positions, just understand that there is a huge volatility expected with most of them.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about that, right? Hooters now in talks to declare bankruptcy. Well, their biggest thing is hospitality. And we just saw hospitality getting beat up. I mean, we're seeing people not traveling. We're seeing people not using Airbnbs. People are not going into hotels. These things, that is exactly what we mean. And to me, of course, Howard, you know this, but I call it thesis trading. It's always been that way to me. It's thesis trading. Yep. Have a thesis. If you cannot explain to me why you're in a trade, if you say I'm in a trade because I saw it on Twitter, you should be smacked upside the head, right? I mean, that's just silliness, right?
And we don't suggest you hit the person next to you right now.
If you trade because you saw someone like me on TV telling you, hey, I should buy and sell this, which we don't ever tell anybody what to buy or sell, you should be smacked upside the head. You should learn to do this for yourself. This is what we're here to educate
You should be listening to the strategies we keep talking about, the same things we say as something approaches resistance because of price action and historical, data, we point that out. We don't tell you that it's time for you to just immediately short it, but we're telling you what to look at because things make reactions at pivot points. Historically, technical analysis is really a look at the psychology of the market. It's where people sold before or bought before, where consolidation happens, price discovery happens, and it's repeatable. And that's why we trade it. And I know someone who's a huge fan of price analysis is about to join us. Here he is. Let's get ourselves ready for Mr. Currency himself, Stephen Flanagan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, guys. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I mean, I hope you're ready for this, man. We've been, it's on fire today, man.
You guys,
what is going on with the DXY, my friend?
Listen, I just want to add one thing. Steve went off there, and I couldn't agree more. 2016, Nevsky Capital went out of business, returned all the money to its fund managers with the comment, butterflies flapping their wings regularly create hurricanes that stop out fundamentally driven investors who cannot remain solvent longer than markets can remain irrational. Steve, you nailed it. You got to be in and out. Long-term portfolio over here, but when you're short-term trading, you got to be glued, you got to be in and out, and you have to be a disciplined risk manager.
What we talked about, Steve. I mean, I think the problem with and I love retail traders, part of who I am, but that's what they're missing. They're missing the discipline, right? They're not paying attention to other they're looking at meme coins and all these nonsense things, and they're getting burnt and they don't understand. But yet when they win big, they say, oh, look at my big win on my one trade. Show me all of your trades for 2025. Show me all of your trades for the last 20, 30 years, right? I can. And I'll tell you what they're going to say the same thing. Oh, well, one big win is worth 50 losses. No, it's really not if what the 50 losses triple the amount of the win. Right.
And then what I also point out, as soon as I see one of those keyboard warriors and they show me, and you can see from their account that 95% of their money is in one trade, I explained to them about portfolio diversity and how terrible of an idea that is, right? We stress 2 to 3%. It should never be more than that in any trade that you make.
It's a good point, Howard. I mean, I was just in Davos, Switzerland, and I sat there and talked to Ray Dalio himself, who is one of the biggest owners of Bitcoin. And he said it shouldn't be more than 10 to 15% of your portfolio, possibly 20, but at the most. And that's including gold. Right. And this guy loves gold. Ray Dalio loves gold. 10% of your portfolio.
For alternative investments, I think you mean not just Bitcoin, right?
What he said, alternative investments, but he broke it down for me. I don't think you saw the last part of that video. It cut off. But he began to explain it was Bitcoin, it was gold, it was all the things that he said. I totally agree. All right, let's get right into Mr. Currency himself. Listen, the Canadians and Americans went at it yesterday in a hockey game, and Canada won. The loonie is all over the map again. Talk to us about the loonie.
And the Canadian dollar strengthened. So there you go.
But also, that's what I'm talking about. News trumps your charts.
That's right. There you go. But also you had retail sales up 2.5%, only expected up about 1.5%. So, but we've, take a step back. Canada has been cutting rates aggressively since early last year. So they were way out in front of the curve on cutting rates.
They were.
And they've got rates right now down as low as, where is my little chart, Bank of Canada, 3%, and probably going to dip
and
under.
You know what's good about that is I've been reading about how the Canadians are selling their homes in Florida because the rates, because they went out. The problem going back across the border, tariffs, all of that, and all that cash that they're not spending down in South Florida, they're going to be spending it in Canada and buying their homes.
Good point, Steve. So I kind of think that the dollar Canada here is at a pretty good support level. However, we're watching that dollar index carefully. We're back down to these levels I talked about, 106.60. We've been as low as 106.34. Technically, we've taken out my support point at 106.50. It's very important where we close today. If we close under 106.50, I'm looking for perhaps another 100 points on the downside. But saying that, I've got smack dab in front of me before markets open a German election on Sunday.
Yeah.
So, and the euro dollar is over 50% of the dollar index. So as much as I want to try to make a scenario here where the dollar index can drop or the dollar can drop further, the dollar has already dropped from a DXY level of 110 down to this level. So I don't want to be in the last stage trying to suddenly put a trade on here. I want to wait for the information to come out. Back to your retail advice, Steve. There's a lot of trading opportunities.
That's a good point. Okay, so let's just say the right wingers win in Germany, which we're kind of expecting, right? How would you be positioning for that then, or would you wait until after the election?
Well, that's a tough one. If you want to take risk, then you're going to be short the euro here on the expectation that this alternative for German party, most recent polls that I saw have them now up to 21%, with the CSU, the ruling party, dropping now from 30 down to 28%.
Saw that, yeah.
So if I see that, it's going to be disruptive because I don't think anybody is thinking that they're going to make gains here. So that would be the shocker to the market.
Now, you did say that you thought that the euro would go to parity against the Dixie. So you still feel that way?
Against the dollar, I think that the euro dollar will drop to parity. I still feel that way. Yeah. And I would say that no matter what happens in this outcome, should the euro bounce, I think, if you look at a euro dollar chart, Howard, if you had one there,
that's what I got right in front of everybody.
Okay, so if you look at that daily, you can see the multiple tops we're in right here at, a big break here of 105.30 is going to send us up at least 100, 150 points, close to 107 again. But that's a blind, to me, my opinion.
That 200-day MA. Yeah. I was going to say to you, this is based on what you just said. That's a pretty good asymmetrical trade for everybody, right?
Yep.
So what Steve is saying is he, on a longer term look here, is saying he sees the euro dollar coming down to $1, right?
Right.
So that would be a 5-cent move to the downside, 2.5-cent move on the wrong direction. So if you're setting up a trade like we've been talking about, you would be setting up these levels and you would know pretty immediately whether or not you are on the right side of the trade, right?
Correct. And, I look at that top side. Okay, so suddenly we see a dollar drop a little bit further, but Europe has got some major structural challenges ahead. Absolutely. And that's where I want to. So I'm hoping I can see an up move, but
to give you a little bit more, to give you even more of a better entry. What I want to stress again, I know we've been stressing it today because of all of these DTEs. But again, I just want to point out what you said is you're willing to wait. You've been doing this 40 years at JP Morgan at a level that retail traders will never be at. What did he just say, guys? Sometimes you wait for your entry. Be patient. And I'll point out, even I was showing Steve earlier today, I made some nice money this week waiting for positions on both iBit and on MicroStrategy. We're working on a wheel trade show that I'm doing with Jeremy Vreeland. And, on Tuesday, I bought some cash secured puts on both of them. They're going to expire outside the money. So I got paid to wait for my entry. It's not.
And 2 days ago, you beat me on the Solana trade, right? I picked Solana maybe a little too early on that. So,
patience is a virtue, as they say, and in trading, it's one of the most important.
And I'll emphasize in the euro dollar, Steve, you started off, what would I position? Yeah, I am short right now, euro dollar, a very small position. Very small, because if I'm right, it's going down. And I'll just add to a winning position.
Yeah.
If I am wrong and I see the bounce up, I can take a loss on a very small position, probably 10% of what I would normally trade. Okay.
Okay.
So I could take a very small loss and live to see tomorrow. I'm not all in at
Yep.
this level, but I can add, if I really believe it, I can add to it when I see the opportunity level then show. So
And
patience is the
what would
virtue.
make you add to something like that? That's a great point. I think that's a great trading question, right? What makes you add to position? What psychology inside of you says, okay, I'm going to add to because I've hit a certain number or I've hit a feeling here.
Okay, so most importantly is, do I still feel the same fundamental view once the news is out? That's first. Second, price action. Watch the price action, because the price action will tell you everything. If
Right.
the euro dollar bounces here and you get a 100-point move up, watch the prices as it begins to flub.
Right.
Can't argue with any of that there. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Getting the trading strategy from our educators and experts here is what you want to be looking at.
Howard,
Steven, what else you watching this weekend? Anything else?
I just wanted to jump in. When you put a chart up, a chart is a human expression. Every time a human makes a decision, whether it's through an automated trading system, which has been my expertise for the last 15 years, or whether it's a manual trade done over a phone, it's a expression of a human emotion. I want to buy, I want to sell. So when you look at a chart, it's very important that you put that emotion into that chart. That's what it's telling you. And that's why technical analysis is a great supporting tool to your decision making.
Absolutely is.
So I need to drop off, guys. I have a meeting to go to, but Steve, have a great weekend. And listen, if you don't know out there, people, listen, Steve Flanagan is a dear friend, and part of Quasar Markets. But more importantly, listen, take this over 40 years of trading advice. You know, this is what you can't buy. You can't go to a school and learn this from Gary Gensler at MIT. You got to learn it from places like right here, with smart people like Steve Flanagan. So I appreciate you, Steve, and I'll see you next week, man.
I'll see you next week, Steve.
Okay, Mr. Flanagan, what else are we looking at in the world of Forex today?
Okay, so we talked about the dollar yen. We had that break point at 150.80. We broke down. We've been as low in the 149s. Right now, approximately the 150.5 level, and I'm looking for a retest of the breakout point. I think it's very possible to see us back up to I'm sorry, right now we're at 149.80, so we're retesting as you know the dollar is again coming under pressure here. So I'm looking for a retest to 150.80 to reestablish perhaps some of my short dollar yen position. The transparency here, I have taken that off. I am flat. But I do want to get back in because a long yen position is what I call a safe haven play. So over the weekend, you could have some news out here. You could have a double-edged whammy this weekend. What am I looking for? One, Ukraine, Russia. Do we get a peace trade? Is there news blurbs over the weekend that indicate a peace trade? Very positive for the European situation, as so many euro short positions are on based on, are we going to third world war here? Second piece of news before the markets open is the German election, as I've alluded to.
Yeah.
So you could have a very volatile Sunday night, Monday open in the marketplace. And in that case, you want to be keeping your powder dry so that you have enough to get involved on an active market on Monday.
Absolutely. I think you hit on a couple of key points there that I'll be watching. I'm going to go fairly neutral over the weekend. Like I said, I got paid to sit on the sidelines a little bit this week, so that worked out well for me. Because I do think news is going to be fast and furious, as we've seen with the Ukraine talk about taking all of the money that Russia has sort of been sanctioned and then putting that towards use in the Ukraine as being maybe the money denominator that gets this moved along. I don't know there if that gets it moved, but you're going to see some volatility. I do think Gaza is going to come back into focus over the weekend too. That's when it seems to take off more as the markets slow down and everything. News tends to get more focused on the political aspects, right?
That's correct. Yep. So it's going to be active. Everybody's suddenly jumping on the dollar down bandwagon, but as you have a dollar index chart in front of us right here, I mean, it's been coming down. So
Right.
I'm very leery.
Right. Yeah. This is where you're not, again, traders. This is what Steve's talking about is don't try to pick up a penny in front of a steamroller. And what we mean is there isn't a whole bunch of room from where we are now and where he told you the next level it falls to that you would be gaining any more shekels, so to speak, on the downside. There's a lot more of a chance that King Dollar comes out this weekend out of its hibernation of the last 2-3 weeks, and you could test 108.50 in a matter of minutes.
and what are we waiting for? We're waiting for the budget resolution. Right. What is the United States? What is our congressional and senatorial? What are those people doing? We know what Trump's saying and doing. It's on a Twitter announcement every minute. But what is Congress? What are our governing officials going to do? And if they can pass a budget, if they can pass tax relief, if they all get in line and come up with something, this would be an incredible moment. And that's when the King Dollar will begin to reassert itself. Right now, we're all waiting. And that's what that chart is telling you. It is saying, I don't know. I don't want to put any more money into this trade until I know
the direction. You have to prove to me you're going one way or the other.
That's right.
That is that. And that's what I'm seeing across a few things right now, personally. Things that I look at, Bitcoin's in that same range. Is it going to break 100 decisively? I don't think so. Could it? Absolutely, it could. But we've been pretty range stuck. I think we're going to stay pretty range stuck. I don't see a big impedance that moves it today or tomorrow. I do think Michael Saylor is buying. We know he's raising another $2 billion or whatever it is this week on convertible bonds, and he likes to buy on the weekend when liquidity is low. He tells you he buys OTC not to move the market, then he does it on the slow weekends when there's no liquidity, so that the OTC, and for those that don't know what that means, is he trades in what's called over the counter, and he does it between big whales that do it between themselves, and they try not to affect the liquidity on exchanges, except that everybody knows over the counter exchanges are at historically low levels of liquidity. So when he buys it, they got to go somewhere to get it. And when they can't find that whale over the weekend, they've got to go to Coinbase or Binance and buy it on the exchanges. So it moves the market. And then he announces it on Monday and it moves the market again. So again, watch for your tweet analysis here. But asymmetrically, you're more likely to see it bounce the other way and move back down towards that 94
level. Howard, I'd be happy to one day talk about OTC markets. And after all, currency world is a combination of OTC and exchanges, and they all.
Oh, we definitely need to talk about that. Let's do that next week, because I was not familiar with that. I didn't realize that I thought that was stuck in my little world. I didn't realize, like Steve said, how sometimes we're US centric when we look at our views on markets and what's going on. I tend to be crypto centric, and I thought that was an anomaly to my world. I knew there was the dark markets in the stock market, where that happens.
Well, they're in the currency markets as well. In fact, if you bring up a Bitcoin chart, I've been watching this. I'm a currency trader, but I study technicals, and I'm looking at a move off of a top, definitely. But to me, in looking at it, I see a failed move down, and I see a lot of pressure building here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do think, Steve sold at 90, a little below where we're at now. I think he's starting to regret a little bit of that decision. I do think our next significant move is to the upside. Personally, I don't know that if this is going to break today. I need to see us hold above that 98,750 for another day. And then I do think you see explosion to the upside.
One of the best things to look at in technical analysis, again, it's a human emotion. So to simply look back at the chart and see the sellers and then see the buyers and the sellers and watch how it coils. Because when the market begins to coil, and what I mean is when you get these bottoms that keep coming in somewhat in a consistent zone, or when it's tops coming in it, because the market is coiling and the pressure is building. that when
Yeah,
one
and a
side,
way that I watch that, I'm sure you are the same, is how these wicks have quickly been bought up more and more. They're showing that the demand at those lower levels is outweighing the sell pressure at those levels.
supply and demand imbalances. It's very important to visualize these, and that's how I traded over 40 years. Back when it was a point and figure chart that you used to keep on your desk. In fact, I was just clearing out some of my old work, and I actually opened up a dollar yen chart back from 1986 and 87, and it was all X's and O's.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep. You
But
know, and
anyway,
again, that's why we bring people like Steven on that have years of experience. And like we said, you know, while he is not necessarily a Bitcoin person, although I do know he dabbles and likes to play in it because it's a currency. And as I said, whether it be a currency, whether it be a crypto, whether it be an equity, whether it be an ETF, a commodity like gold, these charts say the same thing on all of them. It shows the psychology of the market and charts and you know, lines and curves, right?
and most importantly, you have a view, and then the chart helps you support your view, or it says, I have a great view, but not at this level. Let me be patient. So that's where that comes into play.
And that's where I'm at, like I said, with Bitcoin. If it can hold over this for a couple of days, then we're looking. You
That's
know,
correct.
I'll take my chance on missing the next spike because, again, as we see in the spike here and here, they
Yep.
come back pretty quickly to the mean. Bitcoin is a great mean reversion trade on both sides, and has been for years, right?
Right. I'll leave you, Howard, with money moves first. Don't ever forget that. You've got the weekend election results, and watch the Ukraine-Russia geopolitical event as a positive suddenly to the market. And then you set yourself up with NVIDIA. Watch how quickly sentiment changes when you then suddenly get through the weekend. NVIDIA has, and then you come right in the following week to an ECB meeting where they're going to probably cut again. Sentiment changes quickly, and money moves first. Keep a currency on your desktop to watch how fast things can change.
Thank you so much. And Quasar Markets, we'll see you back in a few minutes with Michael Litt of Big Short fame. Will be interviewed by Steve today. Don't miss out. He's got his latest financial report that he's going to go over. So great
What a
stuff.
great insight Michael brings too.
Absolutely. See you soon, Steven.
Yep. Take care.